Hi everyone, Lath from Wineberry Hill here. Some of you might have noticed that I haven't been posting anything about the actual plants growing in my geothermal greenhouse. And so in this video, I'm going to come clean about a pretty depressing problem that I'm having. Step into my office. It started a couple months ago when I noticed some strange holes in the soil of my garden bed. And I thought, well, it's probably mice. And so I set up a camera to try to catch the culprit in the act. Well, once I actually looked at the footage, I discovered that I was wrong. It wasn't mice, it was mice and moles. Now, when it comes to mice are omnivores, really. I mean, they'll eat anything. They'll eat seeds, they'll eat seedlings, they'll eat larger plants, they'll eat bugs, they'll eat worms, they'll eat each other. So yeah, that's a problem to have that in a greenhouse where I want to start seedlings. But moles, you see, that's where I start to get really depressed. The thing that moles like to eat the most is worms. And you know, I really pride myself in the quality and quantity of worms in my garden soil. It's something that I strive to maintain, a really healthy biome of bacteria and fungus and worms. Well, the average mole can eat between 50 and 100 worms in a day. And so you can see why this gets depressing, because as every day ticks by, hundreds, and as each month ticks by, thousands of worms are being depleted from my soil. So I was feeling pretty helpless. And so at this point I decided to deploy every trap that I had in my inventory. So this was sticky traps, it was snap traps, it was live traps, and I put them everywhere I could think of in the greenhouse, and then added even more, right? Nothing. For about a month, nothing was happening. And I should add, you know, as an aside, when I built the greenhouse, I went to great lengths to try to prevent this from happening. The entire underside, the entire footprint of the structure is covered in 1/4-inch hardware cloth. And so I thought I had done a pretty good job. Well, obviously there was a wrinkle, there was a hole, there was a tear, and they were getting in somewhere in the soil of the greenhouse. And so a month went by, not much is happening, I'm not making any progress. I had a camera going, and really the camera was capturing footage of mice walking around, walking on, but never going into the traps. And so you can see how this is depressing. I can't make any progress. I can't put any, plants to actually grow in here, aside from the stuff that's big and established, because the mice are going to decimate it, and the moles are going to undermine the root system and make the plants unhealthy. So I was feeling pretty depressed, and then after about a month, a really crazy thing happened. I caught a mole in one of the mice live traps. Now the reason that that's crazy is because the bait that I use in these live traps is peanut butter. Moles don't eat peanut butter. It's just not something that they eat. And yet there he was, I caught him, and so I was pretty happy about that. And then about a week later, I caught a mouse in that live trap. And then as I was emptying the live trap, I realized there was actually more than one mouse in there. There was probably 2 or 3, and the mouse had eaten the others. Now I'm humanely disposing of these mice so that they're not, just letting them go and then they're coming right back into the greenhouse. So now I'm thinking I'm taking players off of the board. But I'm still struggling with this problem of, the mice by and large just very keenly walking around and avoiding the traps. And so at this point I decided, okay, I'm gonna try to figure out, I need to stop doing the same thing. And so I bought mole-specific scissor traps, and I got a bucket flip trap for the mice. And that's when things really started to kind of turn the corner. Oddly enough, within a few days of me setting up the bucket trap, another mole decided to go into the live mouse trap with the peanut butter bait. I don't know why. You know, any mole experts out there, let me know if you know. But mice did start in earnest going into this live bucket trap. And pretty quickly, it went from like one a day to maybe one a week. And that's kind of getting us to the present moment in time. I've realized I just am going to have that bucket flip trap as kind of a permanent fixture in the greenhouse. And maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, a mice will find its way in, however they do, and it finds its way to a luscious peanut butter utopia by which I can take care of them and remove them from the greenhouse. And so that brings us to the present day. I'm feeling more optimistic. There were some days there where I was so depressed because I felt absolutely helpless. Some of you might be wondering, well, why didn't you use poison? There's poison for both options. There's poison grubs, so-called poison grubs that you can use for moles, and there is all kinds of poison that you can use for mice. The reason I will absolutely categorically refuse to use poison is multifold. I'm sensitive about harming the ecosystem, the delicate balances of the ecosystem. It's hard enough almost having kind of an artificial ecosystem in a greenhouse. And so I love having foxes and bobcats and hawks on the property. And poisoning their food source would bring all of that to an end. So poison simply wasn't an option. But really my takeaway from this was those stinking bucket flip traps are amazing and work incredibly well. And this crazy idea that I just needed to keep deploying more of the same, it was a stupid thing to do. I needed to change it up. I don't know if it's correctly attributed to Albert Einstein, but doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, is the definition of insanity. And so that's something I was definitely doing, hoping for better results by just doing the same thing over and over again. As soon as the bucket trap came out, we started getting results. So I'm going to be very soon making a video about the process that I'm going to be going through to kind of rejuvenate the raised bed. I'm going to kind of check on the worm population. I'm also going to start getting a bunch of seedlings going and kind of tackling things on that front. And so I'm curious, what has worked for you when you've had rodents in your garden? Was there something specifically that you found that worked? I would love to know. Now, if you made it to this point in the video and you're not one of my subscribers, please consider subscribing. You can't know how much of a difference it makes to someone like with a small YouTube channel like this. To those of you that are subscribers, I just can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And then there was one other thing that I wanted to mention to you diehard Wineberry Hill followers, and that is I have started a new channel specifically dedicated to the wild animal aspects of my property. It's called Wineberry Wild, and it's dedicated to kind of the various antics and situations that come up to having cameras set up to capture these wild animals on my property. So if that's something that you would be interested in, be sure to check out Wineberry Wild. And if you liked this video, you might like these.